Bryce Doeschot joining you here on the Rural Radio Network as we're visiting with our friends at the Nebraska Bankers Association. We're broadcasting from Husker Harvest Days. And first, I'd like to get to know each of you a little bit better and perhaps have you introduce yourselves and tell us your role with the Nebraska Bankers Association. Let's start with the president and CEOs on the far end of the table from me.
Hey, Bryce, pleasure to be here. Been with the Nebraska Bankers for about 11 years and have the pleasure of representing 150 banks across the state of Nebraska.
That's the voice of Richard Baier. Good to see you again, sir. We made this an annual tradition.
Absolutely.
At Husker
Looking forward to it every year.
And to his left is, looks like Travis Sears. Tell us about yourself.
Yes, Travis Sears from Union Bank and Trust in Lincoln, Nebraska. I've been in banking for about 35 years. Been at Union 29 of those years. I currently manage our bank operations areas.
Okay, tell me about the managing of bank operations areas. What's that mean and look like on a day-to-day basis?
On day-to-day, it's a variety of different areas, all back office functions. I often tell people I do stuff at the bank that nobody else wants to do. And then with Nebraska Bankers, I'm the chair-elect for the upcoming year.
Very good. Well, thanks for making time to join us today. Last but not least, here over to my left is Mark Linville. Just have you introduce yourself.
Sure. Mark Linville. I'm the president of First State Bank in Randolph, Nebraska, way up in the northeast corner. And so been up in Randolph for about 33 years. So just like Travis, I've been there a long time, long tenure. But over the years, I've volunteered a lot of time to the Nebraska Bankers Association, just because of how important it is to not just bankers but our state. And so I have the privilege this year of serving as the chair of the MBA, and just really honored to do that. And we're about a third of the way through it, so things are going well.
Well, obviously, in addition to Richard, we've got representation here when it comes to Lincoln and Randolph. Maybe a little bit different in terms of town size. How large is Randolph, Nebraska?
Sure, we're right at 1,000 people, and so a small community. But there's lots of Randolphs in Nebraska. You know, there's a Randolph about every 8 miles on whatever highway you're on. So. But it was important, I think, that we have, representation of both the larger cities as well as the smaller communities in our association, and we certainly do that.
Now, what do you like about working in a small town?
Well, just the nimbleness of the bank. I mean, local decisions and quick decisions, and just the personal aspect of it. And so you get pretty close to your customers and your employees as well. And so. Never dreamed I would be in Randolph for 33 years, but it turned into home pretty fast, and we love it there. And
Travis, you said you've been in banking, was it 30-plus years now?
Yes.
What's kept you in the industry this long?
Well, I think it's, the people for one, just helping people in our community and all the communities that we're in. But overall, banking's ever changing, and the technology that comes with that. I get to work with that every day, get to see how that affects people in banking, and I just enjoy overall helping those people.
How has the technology aspect of banking changed? I don't know about you guys, but I can do pretty much everything on my phone now, which is a lot different than it was even 10 years ago.
Yep. That's probably the biggest thing that's changed in banking in the last 10, 20 years is the ability for consumers to be able to do just about everything they need to do from their phone or their PC. We still enjoy customers coming into the bank, and they still do for certain things, but for routine transactions, they can do that just with a handheld device.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question of the importance still of having the brick and mortar banks. I mean, they're all over the state of Nebraska. Anybody can jump in for that question. What's the importance still in this, in this day and age where we can do all our banking on our phones? What's the importance of having those locations out across the countryside?
Sure, I think a lot of it has to do with the amount of fraud that it's out there when you're dealing with customers on a across the table situation. Things are just much easier to control, and so not just the personal side of it, but there's so much fraud today that we can prevent a lot of that when you're across the table from the person.
Perhaps we'll stay with you, talk more about consumer protection. It's scary out there. I'm just going to say that for myself, being only 31 years old. I look at text messages that I get, and I'm like, is this real? Is my Amazon package really not being delivered right now? But I know that happens in the banking side of the world as well. People get text messages, and they're getting scammed out of a lot of money. What role does the Nebraska Bankers Association play in keeping people safe?
Sure. We just had a fraud summit here about 2 weeks ago. We had about 185 bankers there working diligently to protect our customers. And so we take it very, very seriously and spend a tremendous amount of resources in doing that. And so, but protecting the customer is kind of a double-edged sword. It takes the customer too, and so the customer has to be, smart with what they who they give information to, and handle it appropriately. And banks, I can assure you, are working to that same goal.
Question for anybody. If you could give a single piece of advice to consumers in this space of consumer protection, how to protect themselves in this digital age, what would you tell them?
I think you just got to be more diligent now than ever. Question everything. If there is something suspicious, make sure you reach out to your banker to see if it is legitimate or not. Don't give out any information to anybody. I mean, it's truly something that happens daily. Like you said, text messages, emails. The fraudsters are getting smarter, getting better at it. They're finding ways to get people to respond to those emails and text. We just all have to do a better job of making sure we're diligent on all that.
Well, Richard, let's bring you back into the conversation. Perhaps talk a little bit about the agriculture sector. You've been in this quite some time. How does the ag economy influence how banks are doing?
Well, we're really blessed. We have 152 member banks across the state, 1,000 different branches. We're in 330 different communities. So our banks really are financial partners, in making sure the success of our communities and our farmers. And so I would say of our 152 banks, 150 of those are directly tied to agriculture in one way or another. And so there's a lot of opportunities for that interaction. We did have our ag conference in Lincoln last week, had a chance to hear from some leading economists around the country looking at trends. And, for us, it's really about working with our customers on the front end and making sure that we're trying to head off any issues over the long run.
One of the things we hear in the ag space is the importance of having that relationship with your bank and your banker and having a transparent conversation about where you're at, see where it's a reciprocal relationship, right? What's the ideal customer look like in terms of how they're presenting their operation to you guys when it comes to working with a bank?
Well, I'm a little biased, but I'm going to take this one. I just absolutely love getting young farmers started. That's my favorite thing to do, and it's hard. And so, but it's the most rewarding as well. But getting a young farmer up and going and eventually becoming successful is just something that we take very, very seriously and enjoy greatly.
There's several programs out there to help young farmers and farmers in general, and it does involve a local bank, correct?
It does, yeah. There are programs through the FSA office that we utilize that provides us some reassurances on loans that allows us to make some loans that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise, whether it be down payment assistance or maybe first-time farm buyer programs. But there are things that we do to get young farmers up and going, and so lots of banks in Nebraska utilize those same programs.
Yep. And in a lot of those communities, back to your point, Richard, you have to have that relationship with the bank in order to keep farming from year to year. That's an important aspect of what's involved in agriculture. Kind of round out the point on there. Is it having the projections and the balance sheet updated that makes perhaps life a little bit simpler with the relationship with the banker?
Yeah, we do current financials every year, both balance sheets, cash flows, sensitivity analysis. Every farmer that walks out of our lender's office knows their break-even points. They know what they need to generate for income to make the year in the black, and that's kind of hard to do today. Things are tight right now, and so marketing is a big part of it today. But we are seeing stress in ag, but that's ag. I mean, it's cyclical, and so you never know what it's going to be in front of you. But it's that's just the way ag works, and so we try to manage the things that we can control and manage around the things that we don't have complete control over.
Travis, let's come back to you and talk a little about some of the opportunities in the banking industry. I don't think everyone listening today realizes all the different careers involved, and perhaps you're a great example of that. That's right. As an untraditional career. How many different opportunities are in a bank today?
Yeah, there's a lot more than there used to be. So a lot of people just think of a bank as tellers and personal bankers and maybe a loan officer in a branch. But there's a whole back office now and a whole IT infrastructure that wasn't there maybe 20 years ago. We have probably half of the jobs at our financial institution, what I would call back office jobs, that are not directly in front of customers. That's anywhere from IT to bank operations. We've got people that go out and inspect, ag mortgage properties. Just overall, there's a lot more opportunities, a lot more what I would say entry-level jobs that can turn into careers.
I was talking with some folks when it comes to veterinary science recently, and we were talking specifically about the challenge of recruiting people to work in rural areas. My question to anybody here is that a challenge that bankers face as well? Do you want to get folks interested in being in a rural community back to those areas?
We see it happening more and more. So I'd point out a couple of things. Typically, we would try and identify young people that grew up in the area. That's our first connection. And then we also work diligently with the University of Nebraska on their East Campus. And as an example, for 20 plus years, we've been running an ag intern program, trying to place young people back into their communities. So we've been pretty aggressive about doing that over the long haul.
Do I see this right? You've invested since 2006 $1 million in ag banking scholarships?
Correct.
Wow.
Yep. We're honored every year to work with the kids. It's great to, we not only help build their curriculum, teach in the classroom, but then we also put them in the banks during the summers, trying to get them real world experience. And, in the fall, we have a chance to get together with the kids and hear about their experiences, which is always pretty rewarding for us.
How important is that to create the pipeline of the folks that are going to be in the business in the future?
Yeah, it's absolutely essential. It's like any industry. Our success really is driven by our people, and so it's finding people that are good decision makers, have good skill sets, understand their communities, and really are problem solvers. So we kind of help build that into these kids as they go through our program.
New topic for you guys. A few years ago out here at Husker Harvest Days, we learned about a new program that you have in schools across Nebraska, K through 12s, which I think it's the in-school savings program. Is that still alive and well?
It sure is. We actually have that program in the Randolph Public Schools. It's basically kindergarten through 6th grade. We quote-unquote hire tellers. They're 6th graders. And every morning, or once a week in the mornings before school start, our teller, we have an actual teller station in the school, and the kids make deposits. I think it's every Wednesday morning. And so we keep track of them, and the kids line up to get rewards for meeting certain goals, and it just kind of provides some experience into banking at a very young age, and so, but very well received by the kids.
I imagine there's some financial habits they can develop from a young age that can propel them for success as they start earning more money later in life, right?
Without a doubt. We wanted to teach the habit of savings, and that's a great way to do it, and a simple way to do it.
Let's get to some of the details of that program. I think there's over 70 in-school savings programs now, and more programs are in the works. What do you see as the future of that moving forward, Richard?
Well, we continue to work with our partners at the University of Nebraska and our community banks across the state to try and create new branches. We are a little bit limited on staff on how we roll those out, because one of the things that's unique, because they're in the schools, the banks still have to get those permitted as a branch. So they actually have to go through the permitting process.
No kidding.
So it does
Wow.
take a little bit of time to go through that and try and understand it. But one of the things we've really found is it takes really a couple things. You need to have a committed school, principals, teachers, those kinds of folks. You really need to have a committed bank as part of that process as well. And then our partners at the university really do a nice job of helping to kind of structure those with a focus not only savings initially, but thinking about careers. We had a university professor who actually did her PhD research on these in-school savings banks. The kids that save tend to have much better trajectories in terms of careers and those kinds of things down the road.
That's a pretty neat program. If somebody wants to learn more about that, how should they go about it?
You can email us right off the nebankers.org website, and our staff will reach out and point you either to a school that's doing it or trying to find someone in the area that might want to take on that project.
Before we wrap up the conversation, tell me a little bit more about the Nebraska Bankers Association and the role you guys play in Nebraska.
Well, we have the pleasure of representing 152 banks, 15,000 bankers that we represent across the state, and we do a lot of things. We do continuing education, professional development, what I would call government relations and legal, which is always that sexy piece of our job. And then we do a lot of community outreach and extension work, whether that's in-school savings banks, scholarship programs, those kinds of things. And then lastly, our fourth leg of our school is a for-profit that actually does insurance products for the banks in Nebraska that we buy collectively to help the banks navigate that challenging world as well.
Let's go back to Travis. What do you see as some of the things coming down the future you can share with us, but as it relates to the banking industry that excites you and make you want to keep doing this work year after year?
I think it's just, again, the technology that comes with banking. It's forever changing, and as new products and services come out, we get to offer those to our customers. They get to be able to use those to make their lives easier. I just think, as technology changes, we're just going to see those impacts in the industry.
It's hard for us to sit here and wonder what's the future look like,
That's
because
right.
20 years ago, nobody thought we'd be doing banking on our phones, right?
Yeah. And I think one of the things coming out, a lot of people talk about AI. That's going to change the way we do banking and change the way a lot of people do their jobs. So I think that it will be the next thing that we see impact banks.
Hey, Mark, let's wrap up with you. What makes you excited about the future of the Nebraska Bankers Association?
Well, sure. Well, the Nebraska Bankers Association is just a critical component for really all Nebraska banks, and so it kind of brings us together as an industry, an advocate for all of us, and just a really important piece of the puzzle for us. But the future's bright, and we're looking forward to that, and it's bright not just for Nebraska banks, but for our state in general, but we're very optimistic where we're going.
Well, gentlemen, this has been fun. Thank you very much for swinging by, catching up with us here at Husker Harvest Days. Anything else you want to add I haven't asked about?
No, I don't think so, Bryce. We just appreciate the service you folks provide, for getting messaging out. And, I think as Travis mentioned the fraud issue, I think, again, just asking our consumers to be more diligent, look for those red flags on the front end, because we all have a vested interest in protecting our fellow Nebraskans.
I haven't thought about this till just now, but us here at the Nebraska Rural Radio Association and you all at the Nebraska Bankers Association have pretty similar missions in what we're all trying to achieve here. So it's fun to align ourselves here at Husker Harvest Days, and thanks again for making the time. We've got Richard Baier, Travis Sears, and Mark Linville, our guests today here on the Rural Radio Network.